afternoon, good evening, good morning, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Atiya, and I would like to welcome you to Straightforward Talk with Atiya. Today, I would like to talk about parental guidance, raising children, and being a role model in their lives. Now, first of all, the best way to be a role model in your child's life is to first be an example of what you are teaching your child. It's very difficult to expect your child to want to follow through with the things that you're educating them on when they do not see you following the same course. So the old anecdote that many parents say is do as I say but not as I do. Children will do as you do. And that's why it is important to be a good example. I would like to discuss just 5 brief points in terms of parenting. Now, I'm not saying that I am a parenting master or that I'm the best parent in the world. I have 3 grown children, and like many parents who understand there's no real instruction book in terms of how to raise children, we all do the best we can. We make some mistakes along the way, and sometimes we don't know the impact of those mistakes until our children are grown. But at the same time, the only thing that we can do as parents is do the very best that we can and allow their creator to do the rest. So there are 5 points that I want to discuss in terms of parenting your children or being a role model in their lives. First of all, it's very important to be an active force in your child's life. Many of you may have children that are involved in athletics. They may be involved in plays or theater or other extracurricular activities. It is very important when you look through the eyes of a child and they're able to look out in the bleachers, look out in the stands, or be able to look out in the audience and see their parents watching them perform, because it goes far beyond the mere of, oh wow, my parents get to see how great I am. But that demonstrates that you support your child. It demonstrates that you care when you take the time to be active in their lives and be interested in what they like and what they're interested in. It also helps other people to understand who may be involved in your child's life or who may be care providers or teachers, what have you, that you are an active parent and they too have a responsibility and accountability when it comes to your child. I remember there was a time when my children were growing up, and all of my children are grown now, but I had difficulty in terms of how my children were being educated. And no matter how ill-equipped I felt as a parent to teach my children, I snatched them out of the school system and I began to educate them at home. And the first education, the first teacher is the parents, particularly the mother. And so it is very, very important to be an active force in your children's life. And that goes from the educational process to their friends, to who they associate with. All of those things are important. And it's important who has the power or the openness to be able to influence your child. Being an active force in your child's life is very, very important. The second thing in terms of parenting your children and being a role model for them is to be able to effectively strike a balance between discipline and the huggy, kisses. And what I'm saying here is that it's not just good enough to just be a disciplinarian and take the stick approach all the time. Sometimes you also have to give the other side, the carrot approach, and really demonstrate and teach through love and not be so quick with the rod, but take the necessary time to talk to your children, to hug them, to love them, and to ensure that they understand that everything you do for them is out of their best interest and in the spirit of love. Sometimes children have difficulty with the answer no. But sometimes no is necessary. And if you always say yes, yes, yes to your children, you're going to one extreme and then they develop the attitude that they're entitled. A third thing in terms of mentoring or being a role model in your child's life and being an effective parent is to take the time to talk to your children and to communicate with them and educate them on even sometimes the toughest issues like sex, drugs, and violence, and being a person of character, picking friendships, dealing with issues of abuse or bullying. It's important to take the time out to really know where your children's head are and really dig deep at as a parent. I know when my children were growing up, one of the most difficult things for me to discuss with my children was sex. And it was very, very difficult because my mother didn't sit around and talk about sex with me, and she would surround my sister and I with books. So for me, while that subject may not have been taboo, it was just something that was embarrassing. And even as I got older and I had girls and I had a boy as well, it was probably the most difficult thing to discuss with my children. However, as time went by, I had other people who helped in terms of helping me to more effectively communicate about the tough issues. And so being able to have a support system as a parent for your children. So if there are areas that you struggle with as a parent and you know you struggle with them, is to be able to implore the assistance or help of other mentors, because the saying that it takes a village to raise a child is absolutely correct. It does take a village to raise a child, but it also takes a village to have a happy, a fulfilled, and joyous life. And in terms of talking about those tough issues, it's important to teach your children responsibility and accountability, and also to teach them to be independent and to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So there's a lot that this particular area can cover, but taking the time to communicate is critically important. Now, the 4th subject is really one that is for all of us. All of us need to learn it. But when you teach it to your child as they're growing up, they will begin to form those healthy habits and healthy lifestyle. And this is probably one of the most important areas where do as I say and not as I do is critically important. Because if you want your children to eat more fruits and vegetables, but yet you buy Snickers and all potato chips and all kind of other junk, they're going to eat what you bring in. But if you have healthy alternatives to those things, then they'll get into the habit of eating more healthy foods. But healthy lifestyle and healthy habits is not just isolated or confined to being able to eat healthy. It's also getting the proper rest. It's also engaging in healthy activities. So the 4th thing on the list, I would say, in terms of being a role model in your child's life, is to demonstrate in your family setting a healthy lifestyle and engaging in healthy habits. Having a good balance between work and play. If you're spending the majority of your time working and doing other things and you're not doing things as a family, you're not doing things with your children, those are not teaching your child healthy habits. And what happens is they may reproduce or reinvent basically what you put in motion. So as parents, this is one of the things that is very, very important. And the 5th thing that I would say or put on the list in terms of parenting your children and being an effective role model in their life is having some type of spiritual foundation. And regardless of the walk of life you choose or what your religious persuasion is very, 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 very important to spend time meditating or praying with your children, and also to engage in activities that will develop their spirituality and their spiritual well-being. This builds character. And this is not something that you can shirk or place aside or feel that this is not important. I will let them choose their religion or their background when they grow up. This is true. Everyone has the right to be able to choose their walk of life. But children need to have that balance in their life. And so This is a very, very important thing in terms of being a role model in your child's life, so that they'll know that it's not just up to them, that there is a power greater than themselves. And knowing that there is a power greater than themselves when they run into issues or challenges that they're unable to deal with, or you as a parent struggle in terms of helping them to overcome that issue, they know that there is a force or another place that they can go in terms of getting quiet and in terms of knowing that this too shall pass and we can get through this. And although it may not be at my fingertips in terms of the most effective way or the best way to deal with it, there is a power greater than us that has the answers and know the answers. And as long as I stay connected to that source, then it'll be okay. Now, some out there may disagree with that, but I find as a parent, that is one of the critical things, is to have a spiritual base or foundation that will bring your children together and your family together on a more supernatural level as opposed to a natural level. Parenting is not an easy thing. And oftentimes as parents, it's easy to be role models outside of your home, but the most critical and the most important place to be the first role model is within the home. It's important that your children are able to see healthy exchange and healthy interaction in the household. And whether you're a single parent, whether you are in a two-parent household, the rules and the principles really apply or are the same. And let me say this to parents out there, there really is no instruction book in terms of how to parent your children. No two children are alike, and what you give to one child may not work to another. And so really just being transparent with your children and really taking the time to get to know them, not just because they're your children, but get to know them as a human being and allow them the opportunity to get to know you as a human being. It's very important that you take the time to talk to your children. There are experiences that each adult has had growing up. There are experiences that impact our adult life. And we shouldn't be afraid to talk about some of the challenges that we face growing up and really to be able to share age-appropriate things with our children. I think the more your child gets to know you as a human being, and the more you have the opportunity to get to know your child as a human being, you are able to develop not just that parental relationship or parent-child relationship, but you're able to have the opportunity and experience two human beings connecting across generational lines. Parenting is such a wonderful and beautiful opportunity. And yes, it can be hair-raising. Sometimes as a parent, you want to pull your hair out. Sometimes you don't know what to do. You don't know how to address certain issues. And sometimes you just want to wring your child's neck. But you know what? I'm sure our parents felt the same way. But when we bring children into the world, it's very important that we nurture them and we take the time to give. But it's learning how to be the best parent that you can be, but have the willingness to not only parent, but to be there for your children. And if you are in a two-parent household, the best gift that you can give your child is a healthy and happy marriage. So I can go on and talk about all of the experiences I've had in terms of rearing my children. And I have 3 beautiful children. They all are grown, and they all are as different as night and day. I was never one of those parents that was befriending my child. It was very, very important for me to parent my child. I wasn't always yes, whatever they wanted. I had the philosophy of spare the rod, spoil the child. Now, there has to be a healthy balance between the two. And that's one of the important things that we discuss. Parenting is not an easy thing. And it's something that takes practice. It's something that you have to be present for on a day-to-day basis. It's something that you yourself have to be that person that you are working to develop. And through your children, you have the opportunity to correct the wrongs, per se. As children, we tend to think our parents don't know anything at a certain age. Sometimes we think we know it all, or we think our parents are so outdated. I mean, these are all natural things in terms of parenting. But as a parent, the best advice that I can give is to be for your child the kind of parent that you wanted yours to be for you. I hope this helps, and this has been Straightforward Talk with Atiya, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.